Hello, everybody. I hope you are all well. It's great to see you here today. My name is Naomi and I'm an English teacher. I'm joining you here from the UK and we'll be looking today at some of the best ways to get those higher band scores in your IELTS test. And specifically, we're going to be looking at which sentence types you need to use. So there are some very specific sentence types that you need to use in order to get the higher marks. So, for example, we have simple sentences, we have complex sentences. These are all different types of sentences that you absolutely need to get higher marks. So we're going to go into more detail with that. Now, first of all, before we even go any further, I just want to show you the actual marking criteria for IELTS. So it looks like a lot of text right now, but let's just go in right into the detail here. Okay, so we have our band scores here on the left. Hi, everybody who's just joining us. So we have the band 9. This is what everybody wants, right? This is the ideal. This is kind of the native level of speaking or writing English. Then we have 8, a little bit lower. Then we've got 7, 6. These are still good. And we've got 5, 4. We don't really want to be down here. The level that you want to get depends on the necessities and requirements of whatever course or job you're going for. But so for band 9, looking at the writing task, uses a wide range of structures with full flexibility and accuracy. Here we've got a wide range of structures. Here we've got a variety of complex structures, so maybe a bit less. But for all of these, you need a wide range of structures. So if you don't use all of the sentences, you'll be stuck on 5 and 4. Okay, welcome to everybody who's joining us just now. Today we are looking at types of sentences you need to get a top mark in your writing. So let's just share this with you. So if anybody can think of some of the kinds of sentences that they can need, then you can write them in the comments, or if you have any questions, feel free to write them as well. The first sentence that we have today is, we've got all the structure now. This is the wrong bit, isn't it? Let me just find the right one. So we're looking at different types of sentences and the ones that we all need. So that was just looking at all the different structures of the IELTS exam that we need to understand really before we start the process of preparing. But the first type of sentence that we have, guys, is the simple sentences. Okay, these type of sentences, most of you will know how to use already. This is a type of sentence where it's just one idea. Okay, it's just one idea. We don't have more than one clause, and it wouldn't just be one verb as well. So you can use any tense. For example, I eat chicken and I am eating chicken. Those are two different tenses, but they're both simple sentences, aren't they? We just have the subject, I, and the object, chicken. I eat chicken. Those that makes it a simple sentence, right? Okay, we have then just one idea. I mean, these, of course, you should include in all of your essays, whether you're going for a top band score or well, I mean, everybody's going for the best possible, but you will need this to get any marks at all in the IELTS exam. So that's what we're starting with, simple sentences. Now, lots of people, when they're trying to get these high band scores, when they're trying to go for the 8s, the 9s, they think that it's not important to use simple sentences. It is. You should be using simple sentences in 8 and 9. But what is the important thing? Let's remind ourselves. It is variety. Uses a wide range of structures. Uses a variety of complex structures. So how can I get a wide range of structures if I'm ignoring the very first type, the simple one? Yeah. Make sure you include this as well. Number 2, we have compound sentences. Compound sentences. So these ones are also not too complex. This is when we just have 2 ideas. Yeah. One idea and another one straight after it. So the types of sentences we would use connectors such as and, but, so, nor. And, but, so, nor. For example, I like dogs and cats. Okay. Or another example, she is angry, but he does not agree. Okay, we have 2 different ideas. It's not a simple sentence, and we connect them. Another one, let's do an example in a context. So how about in an education context? Okay, I could say, I agree that education for young people is important, but adults should not be ignored either. So those 2 sentences can work separately. If I take away the and, they work as separate sentences. Education is important for young people. Then a second sentence, adults should not be ignored either. So we have 2 separate ideas, we just join them with an and or a but. Education is important for young people, but adults should not be ignored either. So a few people are saying, how many structures are there? Well, stay around and you will find out. We're on our second one, and we have quite a few more this session. I think we're looking at a total of 6 this session. Okay, we have the third type of sentence, complex sentences. So complex sentences are a step beyond compound sentences. This is where we have 2 or more ideas. 2 or more ideas. Now you may be thinking, okay, but Naomi, a compound sentence has 1 idea plus 1 idea. That's 2 ideas. So what's the difference between a compound and a complex? Well, in a complex sentence, I really need to concentrate on my word order, because we have independent and dependent clauses. Now, let's just have a look. It becomes more clear if we look at the connectors that we have to use. These are just some examples of connectors that we can use. After, although, as, because, if, once, than, that, where. These are some connectors we can use for complex sentences. Let's think of an example. Let's continue in the example of education, the context of education. So I could say, although, this is one of my favorites, although adults need to continually be training or benefiting from further education, although adults need to benefit from further education, children also should be prioritized. Okay, so we've got these two ideas, but they relate to each other. They're independent and dependent clauses. So it's easy if we think of the connectors that we have to use. These are just some examples, but there are many more if you look online. I'm just going to read them again for you. We have after, although, as, because, if, once, than, that, where. Two or more ideas. So another example sentence that I have for you here. Because people are becoming, sorry, I just read that wrong. Because unemployment rates are rising, the government should intervene in higher education. Because unemployment rates are rising, the government should intervene in higher education. So in this case, we can switch around the two clauses. We can have them either way round, but the sentence structure changes a bit as opposed to compound. So, complex. Now, it's very important to use these complex sentences well and practice them a lot. Now, today, I'm just doing a general overview of all of the different sentence types, so we're not going into detail on every single one. But you should pay a lot of attention to this because, attention, you must use complex sentences to get above a band 4 mark. So we all want above a band 4 mark, because band 4 is not really, it doesn't really help us, does it? And let's just have a look at the band descriptors. Okay, so we're thinking at the writing task 2. Let's just remember specifically this part of the exam. So we're on number 4 here. Look, number 4. It says uses only a very limited range of structures with rare use of subordinate clauses. Here in band 5, so we're in band 5 here. Look, let's have a look. It says attempts complex sentences, but these tend to be less accurate than simple sentences. Okay, we can ignore the rest of the sentence. What does it say here? Attempts complex sentences. So it's basically saying at least you have tried. If you don't even try to use a complex sentence, you will be stuck in band 4. So it is very important to use complex sentences. And it says these tend to be less accurate. So, of course, if we want the higher band score, we need to practice our complex sentences a lot to ensure the higher accuracy. The higher the band, the higher the accuracy. Right? So, just reminding you of that. They're very clear in the guidance that we do need complex sentences, specifically that type of sentence. Okay, number 4, we have passive sentences. Okay, we have passive sentences. So these may seem difficult, but they're not really. I'm going to give you one word that will help you to remember how to form passive sentences. Reversed. Okay, reversed. You get a normal sentence, you reverse it, and you have a passive sentence. Let's just take an example of that. We could say, for example, scientists know that going to university is the best way to prepare to be a doctor. Now, if I want to make it passive, I could say, it is known that the best way to become a doctor is going to university. Let's take another one. Let's take an even simpler one of a passive sentence. So the active sentence, let's say we can have, for example, teachers know, that's a teaching one, I'm a teacher. Teachers know that teaching groups is challenging. Okay, teachers know that teaching groups is challenging. We can change it around, so the object becomes the subject. The second part, teaching groups is challenging, comes at the beginning, so teaching groups is known to be challenging. Teaching groups is known to be challenging. Okay, again, I'm doing a summary today. If any of these if you're not comfortable with any of these or you don't fully understand them, then please search for them afterwards, or send us a note in the comments if you would like a full lesson on passive sentences or complex sentences or compound sentences. Just put a note in the comments and we can do that in another lesson. Okay, so the fifth type that we have is questions. Now, lots of people skip over this. They think, right, questions, I'm writing an essay, so thank you very much. I don't need any questions. I'll just do that in my speaking. Well, I would disagree with you. Let's remind ourselves, what does it say? Uses a wide range of structures. So use as many as you can. This is a different type of structure, and this one may be easier for you to form than some of the conditionals or the compound, complex structures. So make the most of the knowledge that you have. If you know how to form questions, fantastic. Use a question. Of course, we want to use it in the right context so that it is effective, don't we? But there is no reason to say why we can't use questions in the essay. A really good place to use questions is right at the beginning. Okay, so we could have a short opening sentence and then say, but why is this a problem? Or in the middle as well. A very good thing to do in writing is to use rhetorical questions. What is a rhetorical question? A rhetorical question is one where you don't expect an answer. Yeah, you don't expect an answer, but what are you doing? You're capturing the reader's attention. You are heightening interest and allowing the reader to become more engaged in what you're saying. So questions are a great thing to use in your essay. Maybe just one. Yeah, I would say just one. Even two might be too much. So just one question. It can be a simple question. That's great. If anybody has any questions, then feel free to put them in the comments. Questions or suggestions or doubts. Okay, we have our 6th type of question. Conditional sentences. So these are if sentences. What do I mean by if sentences? Sorry, excuse me. Well, it's when we have a condition that is dependent on something else being formed. So in English, we have quite a few different conditional types. We have what we call a zero conditional, and then a few other different types, which we're not going to go into all of them today, but conditionals are an excellent one to use, especially because there are so many different types. Yeah, so this is actually an excellent area where you can really try to get that high band score, especially if you're an advanced student. Even if you are not advanced, you're aiming for a pass or kind of the best you can do, maybe a 6 or even a 7, then really look up these conditionals, because the more structures we have, it's the higher chance we have of reaching the score that we want to get. Hi to everybody that's joining us. So I know I keep talking about this, but it is so important. So band 9, of course, says uses a wide range of structures. Band 8 also says uses a wide range of structures. There's kind of no difference here in the range of structures. Even band 7, you need to have a variety. Then we get down to band 6. It's just a mix of simple and complex. But really, for these top 3, to get into any of these top 3, you need to use at least one of all of the sentences that I am mentioning today. And especially, just going back again, especially these complex sentences. I would really try to get in 4 or 5 of these complex sentences. There are more connectors than this. You can look them up, and they are very essential to making sure you've got those high marks. So conditional sentences, we have if sentences. For example, if you want to get a high band score in your IELTS exam, you need to study hard. Yeah. If you want to get a high band score in your IELTS exam, you need to study hard. All right. Another one we could have, if it is sunny, the snow will melt. If it's sunny, the snow will melt. We could have another one, a hypothetical one. We could have, if I had more time, I would go on holiday. Or one that is relevant for us all, if the pandemic was over, I would go traveling. The absolute classic, isn't it? So these are our 6 main types of sentences that we have to use. Now, before we finish, I want to go over all of these types, and then I'm going to go over a very, very important point with you. So stick around to the end, because really this is kind of the key point when you're writing those IELTS band 2 essays. So let's just revise. We've got number 1, simple sentences, one idea. For example, education is important for all ages. This is one idea. Education is important for all ages. Or I went to university. Or the government simply does not do enough to help us. Okay, these are all simple sentences and they are important for every band of essay. Number 2, let's remind ourselves, compound sentences. What were compound sentences again? What were compound sentences again? Compound sentences are one idea plus one idea. We use connectors such as and, but, so, nor. For example, a compound sentence. Education is essential for people who... Education is essential to ensure class mobility and to create jobs. Okay, so we've got one idea plus one idea, we've got and. Another one with but. We can say universities are creating environments which are more and more tailored to students' needs, but the fees also reflect this. Oh, so it's just one idea plus one idea, but you can still have very advanced vocabulary and advanced developed ideas, even though it's just one idea plus one idea, a compound sentence. You can still incorporate lots of your advanced vocabulary in there. Okay, now we have complex sentences, my favourite. 2 or more ideas, connectors like after, although, as, because, if, once, than, that, where. Let's do an example with where. So, where governments are not able to subsidise universities, there should be stronger systems in place that work with employers. Okay, wow, I have got 3 ideas there. I've used where and that. I'll just say it to you again, if I can remember it. Where governments are not able to subsidise universities, there should be stronger systems in place that link universities to employers. These are great ones to use, and as we saw, we need them to get above a band 4. Okay, now we have passive. Let's remind ourselves, how do we form passive sentences? They're just sentences that are reversed. So they need to be sentences that originally, or in the active form, have a subject and an object. For example, experts claim that nurseries are not effective. Okay, I don't think that's true, but experts claim that nurseries are not effective. We would change it around and say nurseries are claimed to be not effective, or are known to be not effective. Okay, so we just switch around the subject and the object. We use the verb to be, and then we use the verb in its past participle form. Okay. Again, I'm not going into too much detail, but we can do that in another lesson. So then we have questions such as, but what is the real problem behind this issue? I am probing my reader. I am getting their interest. I'm making them think. And by making them think, I'm engaging them in the topic. Great thing to use in your essays to make sure your reader is still awake and paying attention. And if your examiner sees a question mark, they are going to be happy. They're going to tick, yes, another structure, great. That you might even be put up a band just because you've used a question. So it's quite an easy thing to include. I would include it. Great. Then we have conditional sentences. As most of you will know, there are quite a few different ways of talking about the conditional in English, which we won't go into detail with today, but they are essentially if sentences. So if, theoretically, if you go to university, you should be able to get a high-paying job. This is our kind of theory. That's why it should happen like that, shouldn't it? Okay, so these are our 6 types of sentences that we're looking today. You need to include all of them if you want to get those high band essays. Now, here, essentially, what they want you to do is write your essay with the criteria in mind. Okay, so you're really writing the essay thinking of these criteria, thinking, okay, wide range of structures, high accuracy, lots of flexibility, wide range of vocabulary. Again, lots of accuracy, so rare errors, that just means accuracy, doesn't it? Coherence and cohesion. I need my ideas to be organized, and I need to fully address all parts of the task. So all of this is basically saying we need to write our essays with the criteria in mind. So it looks boring, doesn't it? This big task, but you need to study it, print it off, highlight it, look at the band that you are aiming for. I mean, look at band 9. This is what we want to aim for. And always be checking, what do I need specifically to do that? Now, then we break it down. Okay, we need lots of structures. Okay, we're breaking it down just like today. We're looking at exactly what these structures are. And we've found these 6: conditional, complex, compound, questions, simple, and passive. There we go, just forgot the last one. Okay, just to finish, guys, I just want to ask you a question. What do you think is more important? Do we think accuracy, or do we think a range of structures? Do we think accuracy, or do we think a range of structures? Well, our answer should be here, really, shouldn't it? So we're told a wide range of structures, a variety of structures, but in every single one, they allow a small margin or a small area of error. So here, of course, in the top one, you can have a few mistakes, a small number of mistakes. In the next one, you're allowed a few more. In the next one, this is band 7. You might make some sentences, but often you would have a full sentence that is completely error-free. So what am I saying here? Well, in all of these top bands, in all of them, you are allowed to make mistakes. Here in the top, less than in others, but you are allowed a few small mistakes. But if you do not try to use complex sentences, you will be stuck in a band 4 or 5. Yeah. So if you don't use complex sentences, you'll be stuck in band 4. Now, maybe everything else is perfect. Maybe you have written everything with perfect accuracy, amazing grammar, really great vocabulary. You're on task. You've answered the question exactly. But you haven't used complex sentences. Well, it's a band 4 essay. So we have to try them, use a wide variety, even if it's not 100% accurate. It is better to try them all than to be 100% accurate. Now, of course, as you keep practicing and as you become more comfortable with these structures and you approach your test date, then you'll be more confident and you'll be more able to use these structures in an accurate way. But if you still feel unsure on the day of the exam, if you enter the exam room, you see the paper and you think, I can't remember exactly what the word order is on a complex sentence. I'm not sure if I can do it. Is it better to do it and risk a mistake? Yes. Try it, even if you make a mistake, because you will get a higher mark just for trying, even if it's not completely accurate. Okay. We've just got one last question here from somebody in the comments. Aftab is saying, accuracy will definitely improve a lot of structures, isn't it? Aftab, I'm not exactly 100% sure what you're asking, but if you're saying your accuracy mark will improve, or your ability to be accurate will improve if you use more structures, then not necessarily. But if you're saying will increased accuracy help with your structures, yes. I mean, as you study these structures, you need to study them in an exact way. So study exactly what each part of the sentence is, understand what each type of word is, and then in that way, you really want to study them in detail so you know them inside out. Practice them a lot, and in that way you will be practicing your accuracy as well. Okay, guys, that is everything for today. I hope you have found that helpful, and any questions that you have, feel free to ask. Somebody is asking, my target in writing task is 6.5. What can I do? Well, Narelle, I suggest you go straight to the IELTS band descriptors. So, Narelle, you can find this on the IELTS website. If you go to their website and you go to, I think it's a page that says how we mark the tests, or how IELTS is marked. You can click on that and you find out the simple areas that they're marked in. Further down on the bottom of the page, there are very specific band descriptors. I'm just going to show you here. So, for example, Narelle, you want to get 6.5. Well, you need to do everything that is on here. So, address all parts of the task, although some parts may be fully covered, more fully covered than others. So you can't ignore one part of the question. You need to address all parts of the task. It needs to be relevant main ideas. You need to organize your ideas coherently. There's a whole range of things that you can look at here, Narelle, and just practice. Study those different sentence types that I've just shown you. Read lots of advanced English in newspapers like The Economist or The Guardian or BBC News. There's lots of practice IELTS material online as well. By reading, you will expand your vocabulary. And while you're reading, we're not just passive reading and ignoring words that we don't know. No, we have our notebooks with us. When you see a word that you don't know, write it down, search the translation in your language, write it down. And that way we will have whole books full of advanced new vocabulary. Okay, so always have, this is a big one, but always have a little notebook with you wherever you go. In your spare time, on your phone, you can read bits of English and always note down this vocabulary. That's not really on today's topic, but this is just an aside. While you're reading as well, you will start to notice these different sentence structures. You'll start to notice them and you can start to identify them, think, oh, this author has written a question in the middle of his essay, of his article, or we've got a nice passive sentence there. Maybe I could use that. Copy them. Not word for word, but copy these ideas, these structures, the words that they use. That is how we learn. So guys, that is everything for today. We're just going to answer one last question before we finish. So Aftab is saying, how can we sentences can be recognized? You've said can twice there, Aftab. All right. We don't need it twice. And we also don't need we. Okay, because we already have sentences. Sentences is the subject here. So how can sentences be recognized as used in flowery language like most complex sentences? For writing, should we use complex verbosity or something like that? Or simple? Well, what have I been saying today, Aftab? I have been saying again and again, haven't I, Aftab, about a wide variety. So it's not about being complex or simple. You have to be both. You have to use complex, simple, compound, passive, question, conditional. We have to use them all to get a high band. So it's actually a very good question, Aftab, because lots of people think to get a high band, I need to use only complicated sentences, only very, very long sentences. No, we want some simple sentences. We want a question and a few other things that make that variety happen. I hope that's helpful. You don't need to use flowery language, Aftab. Use advanced vocabulary, yes, but be concise, be direct. If you're using a word just to show off that you have that vocabulary, don't use it. Only use it if it's relevant. Okay? All right then, everybody. That was everything for today. I hope that was helpful. If you have any doubts about those sentence types, you can write them in the comments and we can have a look at them in another lesson. That was all for today. I will see you at 4 p.m. on Friday. Have a lovely Wednesday. Bye, everyone.